Hey guys, Scott here. Pretty much every time I start recording, he just complains at the foot of my chair now, so I just have to do this. So today I want to talk about medkits and why they are by far the strongest item in the entire game. And I've had this opinion for a long time, and for some reason people still thought like keys and like toolboxes and stuff, or even flashlights are stronger. So I would like to convert everybody here who is a non-believer into the church of holy shit, medkits are insanely strong. And it kind of ties into why I'm so scared of Circle of Healing, because it really is just a matter of time efficiency. The reason medkits are so strong is time efficiency. Let's take like a base value. I'm going to say 20 seconds. So let's say it takes 20 seconds for a killer to hit a survivor. And the reason I'm using the value of 20 seconds is because that's how much time you get in just straight up forward distance after a killer hits you. If a killer hits you and you just run straight, you will gain 20 seconds of distance without using a single pallet, window, anything. You just run straight. You'll last for 20 more seconds, bare minimum. I mean, assuming it's like a nurse or something like that, that can just immediately blink on top of you again. But for any basic M1s, that's how much distance you gain. So that's the value I'm going to use for this discussion. Now, obviously, that's a very generous number because in reality, people don't just run straight into nothing. They run straight into loops and tiles and stuff like that. So it actually typically takes longer than 20 seconds. The first hit tends to be way easier than the second hit, and that's a very important part of this as well. But that's where I came up with that 20-second number. So let's say it takes 20 seconds to do a health state on a survivor. Now, with a basic brown medkit and absolutely no items whatsoever, you heal in 16 seconds. And because every second of a survivor is 4 times as valuable as a killer because there's 4 of them, you're essentially losing 16 like generator seconds from that trade. So if it took you 20 seconds to hit them and it takes them 16 seconds to heal, your net loss, if you don't continue that chase and finish it, is that you've lost 16 generator seconds overall. Now the problem is, well, you can just say, well, just keep chasing them so they can't use it. But as you get better at killer, you realize that most maps have some sections where they are just, it's not realistic to chase good survivors there. And so what good killers will do is they'll commit basically to half a chase. They'll injure the survivor once, and then they'll break a pallet in the area, and they'll set up a snowball-y type situation for later, because that's the only way you can reliably win against certain scenarios and against certain teams. Snowballing is essentially the entire strategy of every killer at like a high level. You can't win without snowballing against good survivors. It's pretty much impossible unless you're like Nurse maybe. And essentially all snowballing is forcing survivors into a state in which they are in a constant cycle of recovery instead of progressing the game. So an example of a basic snowball is you have someone on the hook and you down the guy that's going to rescue them. Well, in that scenario, now you've got the guy slugged on the ground on the hook. You have the guy on the hook. Now another guy is going to have to peel off the generator who you then chase. And then the fourth guy is going to have to rescue the other two. That's what a snowball is, because now they're in a cycle of recovering themselves to not die. Because if they were to keep working on generators, they would not finish the game quick enough to account for the fact that their team is now dead. So that's what snowballing is. Every single good killer in this game has to rely on that to some extent. You can't just get 12 hooks every match, again, unless you're like Nurse, or the team is playing super, super nice, assuming they're good survivors, because there's just simply not enough time for it. Snowballing is absolutely vital to winning pretty much every single match as killer. Now, medkits just delete snowballing entirely, except like Oni. I would say like Oni or like a Starstruck Agitation. There's got to be some gimmick going on with Exposed or something like that. But Oni's the only killer base kit that can sort of ignore this when he's in his rage. But for the most part, killers rely on survivors to be injured to snowball. That's why Plague is a pretty good snowballing killer, for example, because people will tend to be injured against Plague because they don't want to give her Corrupt Purge. But, I mean, as I'm sure you've seen, if a single person uses a fountain, then you've got 3 other injured people and you give Plague Corrupt Purge, she starts to snowball because everyone's already injured. She just hits them once. It's very quick. And it's the fact that they're already injured that makes it so much easier. The thing is that for the first hit, like I said earlier, is much easier to get than that second hit, because the second hit has the boost, the speed boost that the survivor got from the first hit. So it basically has a bare minimum of an additional 20 seconds on top of the time, assuming they use their distance optimally and run straight before they start looping you. the second hit always takes longer than the first hit because they get that speed boost on top of it. Like, look at the scenario of a nurse with range blinking from almost outside of her radius onto a generator to a survivor. Well, the nurse will blink, hit the survivor, they'll gain a bunch of distance, wait for recharge, and then blink again, and then down them. Compared to, so that chase takes 20 seconds with the best killer in the game with perfect add-ons. And now, if that survivor is injured, the nurse blinks, and the survivor dies instantly, and the chase takes 0 seconds. So it is mathematically, quite literally, infinitely better to have a injured survivor because the chase it's exponentially shorter of a chase when they're injured, because that first hit is a lot easier than that second hit. And so we go back to medkits, completely negating that. The time efficiency for the survivor it's so far in their benefit that it basically, if you have like 4 medkits, or how I'm assuming it's going to work with Circle of Healing, this is why I'm so scared of it, is going to essentially force killers to not rely on snowballing, and they're going to have to continue chasing survivors because it's like a sunk cost fallacy at that point. If you've injured the survivor already, you have to sort of commit to downing them at this point, because if you don't, you will have a net loss in time, therefore eventually adding up to losing you the game. So you basically have to just commit to chases with survivors that have medkits, because the time efficiency is just way too far in their benefit. It's incredible how much a single heal can benefit a survivor and how much anti-snowballing it can do. And it's not like back in the day where you can say, well, killers with one-shots, ignore all this stuff. Yeah, but every single one of the best killers does not have a one-shot. Nurse, Spirit, Blight, like Pyramid Head, Huntress, none of these killers have one-shots. All of the best killers do not have one-shots, so having that extra health state is so vital. Now, you might go, okay, well then what about self-care? If it's all about the health state, then why is self-care seen as such a bad perk? And it's just simple time efficiency. Self-care takes 24 seconds. So instead of it taking 16 seconds, it takes 24 seconds. And so again, if we use that baseline value of a 20-second chase, now it's 16 seconds in the killer's favor. If you have 4 people self-caring at a 4-second deficit, that adds up to 16 seconds of negative generator time. It's actually just simply about how quickly you can heal. And because medkits allow you to heal quicker than the killer can simply hit you for that baseline 20 seconds time, medkits just end up being so good. And this is not even assuming you have any perks. You don't have desperate measures or botany knowledge. There's no will make it. There's no we're going to live forever. You have no add-ons in your medkit. It's just a plain brown medkit. This is the bare bones. If you get up to a healing build with like a green medkit, gel dressings, and like the scissors and botany knowledge and desperate measures, you could still have room for Dead Hard and DS if you want to. You don't need to stack all the healing perks, but you can get yourself down to like a 6-7 second heal. And just look at the time efficiency of that. Let's say you heal in 6 seconds, which is extremely easy to do. This build I'm doing on stream right now is, I think, an 8-second heal. So 8 seconds. Now you've got a 12-second benefit to the survivor. You multiply that times 4. Now it's a 48-second deficit for the killer in terms of generator time if everyone's doing like that same thing. You can see how quickly small seconds, because of the amount that a survivor's seconds are, multiplied by the killers. You can see how even the tiniest amount of advantage just completely destroys the killer efficiency in terms of time and negates the ability to snowball. So it's all about time efficiency being completely in favor of survivor. And the way that the killer gets around that time efficiency is by snowballing. But you can't really snowball against 4 healthy survivors either, unless, again, you're like Oni, or you have like Haunted Grounds or Starstruck Agitation or some type of gimmick. It's just not something you can normally do. And so that's why medkits are so strong. That's why I'm so scared of Circle of Healing, because Circle of Healing is that, except you give it to your entire team for free. And if they do have a medkit, it's just simply twice the speed that they normally heal. So now a brown medkit is healing you in 8 seconds. You can heal someone in 8 seconds with a brown medkit if you're in the Boon Totems range. That is insanely, ridiculously fast. And if you have like an actual healing build on top of that, you can literally heal in the loop. Like, as the killer is kicking pallets, you can heal a little bit, run to the next pallet, heal a little bit, and you'll be able to heal before they can even hit you again. It's like, that is so far into ridiculousness, but that requires a dedicated healing build. So I'm just talking about basic healing, basic medkits right now. But that is why medkits are so strong. The time efficiency of like toolboxes doesn't even come close unless it's a brand new part, which, I mean, unless you're bringing in 4 BNPs every game, it does not compare. Keys are being nerfed, so there's not even an argument there anymore. I made the argument that medkits were by far better before then, but I mean, they're getting nerfed, so it's not even a question anymore. Flashlights are just terrible against good killers. They're almost never useful. So, I mean, what's left? Keys with Blood Amber. Maps are pretty situationally useful, but no. Medkits, in terms of time efficiency, it is not even close. They are so far and above everything else survivors can bring in the lobby, to the point where if I see 4 medkits, it's the only time I will ever bring in Franklin's, because not because I want to be a dick, but because I just physically cannot deal with that. It's too strong. I can't beat that level of anti-snowball if the survivors are remotely decent. It's just you can't do it unless you're like Plague or something and you keep them injured. So that's basically it. That is why medkits are so strong. That's why I'm so scared of Circle of Healing, but we'll see how it goes. You're going to see a lot of Thrill the Hunts and a lot of Plagues when that patch comes. But that's it, guys. Hope I've convinced anybody that does not think that medkits are ridiculously strong, because, oh boy, they are. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.